We need government, and we need government big enough to care for all those in need. After all, in a civilized society, in a caring society, everyone has an inherent right to food, clothing, housing, medical care, education, and job opportunities. I agree, we need government, but none of us have a constitutional right to those things you mentioned. No, we don't, but we do have a moral right to those things. If the moral right doesn't come from our Constitution, then where? From the will of the people. But if it comes from the will of the people, then the people could take away those very rights, like how people took away the rights of blacks and made them slaves. But in a more civilized society, a compassionate society, we must give all people the right not only to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but the very tools necessary to keep life and the tools necessary to pursue happiness. This has to include education, food, clothing, housing, and medical care. How is that not reasonable to you? Look, nature doesn't give us all those things. We have to work for things. Necessity is the mother of survival and of invention. We all have to work. For those few who cannot work for themselves for some reason, it is reasonable to be compassionate to help them. That I do not challenge. But the question is, who is going to give them those things? The government. Government has no money except your money and my money through taxes. That means I go to work to pay for other people's needs. In fact, over 60% of your taxes and mine goes to taking care of others. That means I'm forced to work a couple months full-time a year for others against my will, under penalty of jail. That makes me an economic slave to those who need things, just like blacks were made economic slaves for the benefit of plantation owners. But you're not a slave. If people vote for such a thing, then it is done freely. Besides, you can leave the country if you don't want to do this, whereas blacks couldn't leave the plantation. But what gives the right to the people to enslave me to work for others under penalty of jail? The plantation owners didn't have the right to vote to enslave blacks and then beat them if they didn't obey. I really do believe we the people do have that right to vote, to have ourselves work for others, for two reasons. First is because people have the implied right to have the basic necessities in order to be able to exercise their constitutional right to pursue their own happiness. The second is, it is our responsibility to help others for the privilege of being part of a great democratic republic. Without that democratic republic, you couldn't have the money you have. You have to give back to others. I disagree. People do not have the right to vote to steal my labor for other people's necessities. If I voluntarily choose to help others, to give to charities, then that's my choice. What you're talking about is forced charity. Not only is it unconstitutional and inherently unfair, it kills my joy of helping others voluntarily, by my own choice. To require, against my will and under the threat of jail, that I work for so long each year to take care of other people and call it compassion is oxymoronic. It is not fair that people who benefit from the advantages of this country and they have more than what they need, that they don't help those who do not have what they need. It is their civic duty to help others for the privilege of being an American. You decide.